have a problem in Islamic countries with honor killings.
Yes. Yes.
Do you have that problem?
There's no honor killing in the Quran.
And that's a divine law.
Honor killing is not in the Quran.
And Muslim says that that's a divine law.
Suspected rebellion. Is it not true?
Are you going to have a respect?
Honor killings. Well, some of those have a lot to do with Islam.
Honor killing. Something which Sharia has no place for. There's no such thing in the Sharia called honor killing.
I'll let you finish without interrupting you. You know,
Leviticus chapter 21 verse number 9. Suppose a priest's daughter makes herself unclean by becoming a prostitute. Then she brings shame on her father. She must be burned to death. Why? You see what's happening? She brings shame to her father. You can understand that around the Mediterranean basin in ancient times, this was a very common way of viewing things. You bring shame to me, I eradicate myself from that, I eradicate that shame by putting an end to it in a very decisive way. A poor girl is killed.
Something which Islam is completely opposed to. It is not honor killing, it is murder. It is murder, and the consequence for it is execution, is death.
Is that the number of specific honor killings in the Islamic world is so great that even though this may occur occasionally within Hinduism or Sikhism, the vast majority are within the Islamic world, and there is Quranic and Sharia support for such actions. Is that true?
Absolutely, Michael.
As far as in Jordan, an average, I think it's 30 women, an average of 30 women a year are killed in honor killings. Where's the justice in that?
Well, I mean, there isn't any justice there. I don't, you know, the question is, there's no justice. What honor killings, what
how
what
does
is
Islam
honor
perceive
killing?
that? How can Islam
has no concept of that. The Christian Arabs do that. Mexicans used to do that.
Mm-hmm. But there are reports of it in other Muslim countries.
This is
There's reports of it in Pakistan.
This used to happen all over the world. This happened in Christian countries. This is just a situation that existed in many parts of the world. It doesn't justify it, but the fact that it still exists in that part of the world is only indicative of the fact that that familial honor is still an extremely important, if not a central element to those societies. And a woman's chastity is still considered something that is at the essence of the honor of a family, as well as the chastity of a male, but because it tends to be a patriarchal culture, and because of the fact that women, when they lose their virginity, there are generally physical signs of it, and certainly pregnancy can occur, whereas with a man is more veiled than a woman in that situation, but in no way does it mean that a man who commits fornication or adultery is any less condemnable than a woman. Mm-hmm. They're both terrible breaches of divine comportment. But I would say that the Christians have the same concept in their ignorant societies. Arab Christians have done this. So there was an Arab Christian that killed his daughter in Chicago. This occurred in the United States. It's a very sick thing to do. I find somebody would have to be a really sick human being to be able to kill their own progeny. But in America, there's been over 20 million abortions. And the only difference in America is that they say, well, these are unborn. You know, so I think before Americans start pointing the finger at 30 honor killings in Jordan, let's look at 20 million babies that have been killed in America. Right? Really? I mean, America is it's a culture of amazing paradox.
Honor killings, okay, the honor killings, very good. The honor killings, once again, a very sad reality that, once again, is blown out of proportion. Does it happen? Yes, it does. How often You do the statistics, find out. There are more cases of domestic murder here in America than honor killings, of spouses murdering spouses because of jealousy, than honor killings. And in fact, that is a type of honor killing, by the way. When a spouse murders another spouse because they were caught in an affair, what is that? It's a type of honor killing, except that it's between spouses, okay? That is more common in America than honor killings. Does it happen in the Muslim world? Yes, it does. But again, to take this one bizarre act, and then, now in this case, I can thankfully say, without sugarcoating it at all, that honor killings are not at all a part of Islamic law. That this is something that is tribal and cultural, and that every mainstream cleric, every school of law has sanctioned honor killings as being illegal and something that goes against the Islamic tradition.
Recently, we got all hyped up about the Aqsa Parvez murder, and we're wondering, what does that have to do with Islam? And some people are thinking, well, yeah, that's Islam's teaching, you know, honor killings all over the Muslim world. What are Muslims doing? They're following the Quran. They're not following the Quran. The Quran, in fact, prohibits Muslims from taking innocent life. And taking a life for what people call honor killing is actually a dishonorable murder, as far as I can understand from the Quran. But we can see that in the Bible, there is some hint of something that we might call honor killing. Just listen. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verses number 15 forward. Then the girl's father and her mother shall take and bring out the evidence of the girl's virginity to the elders of the city at the gate. I should preface that by saying that's in case her husband says, when I married her, she wasn't a virgin. The girl's father shall say to the elder, so apparently the father saves some of her garments from the wedding night, perhaps stained with material that will show that she was a virgin at the time. So now he parades it before the elders of the city to prove that his daughter was a virgin. The girl's father shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this man for a wife, but he turned against her. And behold, he has charged her with shameful deeds, saying, I did not find your daughter a virgin, but this is the evidence of my daughter's virginity. Imagine how shameful that must be for the girl. And they said, they shall spread the garment before the elders of the city. So the elders of that city shall take the man and chastise him, and they shall fine him 100 shekels of silver and give it to the girl's father, because he publicly defamed the Virgin of Israel. And she shall remain his wife. He cannot divorce her all his days. But if this charge is true, that the girl was not found a virgin, then they shall bring out the girl to the doorway of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her to death, because she has committed an act of folly in Israel by playing the harlot in her father's house. Thus you shall purge the evil from among you. You see, why is she brought to her father's house to receive her death penalty? Because this is how you purge the evil. Because she has defiled her father's house, and now the name of the family must be cleared.
Throughout the planet, you will find very similar pathologies manifested by human beings. Mm-hmm. And certainly America is filled with very dysfunctional relationships. Mm-hmm. Women here are grossly abused. The number one cause of murder amongst women in the United States is from their husbands or their boyfriends. I mean, you see this. So I don't think you can say Muslims have any monopoly on the mistreatment of women. Mm-hmm. I think globally we have a problem. The problem in Islam occurs when Muslims do not adhere to the traditions of Islam, to the teachings of Islam, and vice versa. When they do adhere, you will see, in fact, extraordinary harmony occur in the human relationships, because very clear guidelines have been given in terms of gender relationships.
So you're saying that Muslims have themselves to blame in a way that...
First and foremost.
Jephthah. I don't know how many of you know Jephthah. We didn't learn much about him in Sunday school. In Judges chapter 11, then the Lord's Spirit took control of Jephthah, and Jephthah went through Gilead and Manasseh, raising an army. Finally, he arrived at Mizpah in Gilead, where he promised the Lord, if you let me defeat the Ammonites and come home safely, I will sacrifice to you whatever comes, or whoever comes out to meet me first. Then eventually he gets home, because he's destroyed all of these armies by the help of God. And went, when Jephthah returned to his home, this is verse number 34, in Mitzpah, the first one to meet him was his daughter. She was playing a tambourine and dancing to celebrate his victory, and she was his only child. Oh, Jephthah cried. Then he tore his clothes in sorrow and said to his daughter, I made a sacred promise to the Lord, and I must keep it. Your coming out to meet me has broken my heart. Father, she said, you made a sacred promise to the Lord, and he let you defeat the Ammonites. Now you must do what you promised, even if it means I must die. But first, let me spend 2 months wandering in the hill country with my friends. We'll cry together, because I can never get married and have children. Yes, you may have 2 months, Jephthah said. She and some other girls left, and for 2 months they wandered in the hill country crying because she could never get married and have children. Then she went back to her father. He did what he had promised, and she never got married. What a nice way of saying it. And she never got married. Of course she never got married. That's why every year Israelite girls walk around for 4 days weeping for Jephthah's daughter. So we can see then that in short, there is something about honor killings actually in the Bible. Clearer than this is Deuteronomy chapter 13, which speaks about an apostate in your own house. If one of your family commits apostasy, what are you to do? You are to be the first ones to stone the apostate in your own family. So honor killings is very old. It predates the religion of Islam. It's not condoned by the Quran. But we can see that in fact, I don't know what they called it back then, but it looks like the kinds of things I'm looking at in the Bible right now is similar to what we are referring to as honor killings in our present time. So you see, a lot of times people misunderstand, they blame the Quran for something that it does not represent, and Muslims, of course, might be better followers of the Bible than they are of the Quran. But
there is Quranic and Sharia support for such actions. Is that true?
Absolutely, Michael. Look.
Something which Sharia has no place for. There's no such thing in the Sharia called honor killing.